This is my midweek review, starting with the DXY. So I was looking on the DXY earlier in the week, and I could see that we had this 3-tick structure that was coming up into play. We were kind of aligning quite closely with this little hook point here, and this hook point just happened to be sitting outside of this like build up of volume here, which is really nice. So it's just like a key value area for me. And obviously we had the high above, and just taking to note that we had the near miss here to this low. So what I'm looking for now, just drawing that up, so we can see that we're potentially it's kind of it's quite a nice one to look at the moment on the DXY, because it's you either wait for price to break below this little low here, which is probably more obvious on the this little correction low here on the 1 hour. You either wait for price to break below that, or if we do break and then break above, then obviously you can technically look for the counter longs. But just keep in mind that this could become a larger flag, which could be then the catalyst for the move to continue up to the higher high. So that's what I'll be looking for on that one. And you can see from the daily, I mean, daily's not closed yet, but it's likely that we're going to close with a bearish candle. But we do have just under 4 hours left, so anything can happen from then. But if we close something like this, maybe a little bit further down, so there's less of a wick, then it'll be a pretty good sign that we could be selling off. But again, don't want to get too carried away with a bias for the sell, because again, this could just become a larger structure on that 1 hour and 4 hour, and next thing you know, you've got this structure to move up to there, and that would be equally as nice, because it's deliberate price action, and it's the sort of like correct size you'd be looking for from an impulse this large. So yeah, and then moving on to Aussie Kiwi, starting from the daily. So I've already got this high marked in where we kind of aggressively sold off with this move a long time ago. But then in the current price action, I can see that we've got this we've had this 1, 2, 3 here. And then on the 4 hour, you can see that we had the kind of extension of that 1, 2, 3 with this here. And we never hit that third touch, but we came very close to it. And you can kind of see it as like, well, we hit the override, kind of failed to sell off, and just came up, broke the override, pretty much tagged the third touch, was very close. And then we've kind of just been selling off, but kind of in a not so nice fashion, where you're getting these like larger pullback, and now it's just kind of looking a little bit messy. So personally, I won't be looking to trade this tomorrow. Yes, you could say that, maybe you were looking at something like this as a structure. You got the 1, 2, 3, kind of playing it into this little sort of liquidity point area here, broke above. But yeah, it's not something situationally that I would be looking for right now. So yeah, moving on to euro dollar. Now this one I do quite like. Obviously it's the opposite of the DXY. So we know that we have this high. We've had the sort of not so much a near miss, but like kind of this is a high value area where we know price can gravitate towards on the high time frame scale, and then we have this low here. And then on the 4 hour, I can see that we've got this kind of like hook point price here, and we're kind of just sitting below it, but we have started to pierce through with a wick at the moment. So obviously that is key. Depending on how we close, we still do have just under 2 hours left of that 4 hour candle. But I can see here that we've had, this is what I was looking for earlier today for an entry, where we had this kind of corrective squeeze up, which I was using as sort of like my value area, or that I was looking for. And then with that, we had this 1, 2, 3 structure that was moving up. Now the only downside to this that I saw was on the 4 hour, the lows of the structure were 2 bullish wicks. So that was just something that I was keeping into account for. So I wasn't 100% looking for the risk entry in that case. I was kind of just letting it see how it was going to play, and maybe we were going to form some like internal structure that was leading up to the hook point as well. Then that confluence would have given me enough confluence to look for a risk entry within the position. But obviously now we've broken above, and it's similar to obviously the DXY. Two things that I'm looking for: we either get the break back in, continuation. Ideally, this takes a lot, like it moves it a little bit more slow, maybe because it's like a little double top. Just because if we get this now, it's going to be kind of like midnight or early hours in the morning, and you don't really tend to see euro dollar move that aggressively in those hours. Obviously, primarily moves in the London session. Or this is, we're kind of now potentially now creating our base, and we just get a bullish flag like this. You get the 1, 2, 3, and you can risk entry that for the long because it makes sense. Higher time on the higher time frame with the DXY, you're trading above this previous high. You're trading back above this hook point area, and you do have decent momentum on that 4 hour and very nice momentum on the daily, which is really, really nice. So those two sort of views of how I'm seeing euro dollar for the long and the short. Pound dollar, quite similar to euro dollar. They are kind of sister pairs. So we can see here that we've broken all these lows. So obviously you had this first low, then we near missed that first low, went all the way back up to fill this, came back down, near missed it again, came back up to kind of more than likely fill one of these areas here on the lower time frame, and then obviously we've broken straight below now, and we've broken through with a strong daily bearish candle. And then drop into the 4 hour. I know that we have this sort of hook point area that the price is kind of sitting on, but obviously you'd be able to manage it well before that, so it's not really a concern of mine. That is probably more of a target area, if anything. So obviously I can see here that we've got this hook point as such that I'm looking for, and then now you can kind of see that this is potentially creating, if we get a little bit more depth to it and we get that low and then it comes up and we get something like this along the lines of this, it's an obvious 3-touch flag right into the hook point as well, sitting below the lows. I think this is one of my favorites at the moment, where I would be looking for a risk entry for something like that. You've got 3 to 1 to the low of that structure, and then first target area with almost a 5 to 1, so pretty much a 5 to 1. So that would be one of my preferred setups as well. So euro dollar, pound dollar, both looking very nice. Kiwi yen, I'm not too fussed about Kiwi yen. On a daily, we're so close to this high, I just feel like we're just slowly just going to keep crawling up there. But you can see this, we've had this 1, 2, 3 structure. Obviously not the best. There's no proper middle section to it. It's a bit of a messier structure, but the tops and bottoms are quite clear. And then originally I was looking for price to give us an entry at this high, and then sell off. But obviously we have sold off, but we had these much sharper pullbacks, and it just doesn't look like the best piece of price action at the moment to be trading for myself. I find it difficult to look for positions in price action that looks like this when it isn't coming from a very high value area. So if we got this sort of price action and it was set up here, where I know it's a higher value area, and then we started to get, maybe like a 3-tick structure here into this high, then I potentially look for a risk entry within that, just because I know the high time frame confluence is on my side. But with this scenario, knowing that we have near missed this, and this doesn't look like typical price action to sell off, this could just gravitate back up, and next thing we know, we've created another channel, and we're something like this, which would be absolutely lovely, but obviously a long way away. So yeah, Kiwi yen not so much. UK 100 is looking fantastic. We had the high value area, which we know we sold off from very aggressively last time, just dropping down to the 4 hour. We had that wick fill here, and we had the 123 within there, which looked really nice. And then earlier in the week, I was looking for an entry within here, but we just didn't get one on the lower time frames. And then we pulled back and then dropped pretty aggressively. And then today I was looking to see if we were going to get an entry off of this little hook point here. So I was just waiting for a little push down, and I just wanted to see a little bit more depth with the flag really. But yeah, it didn't show up, and you can see now that it's kind of created this scooping double top. But yeah, it's not one that I'm going to be looking for right now. I feel like there are better positions for me to look at. So yeah, I will be leaving that one off the cards at the moment. Dollar CAD. This one is still looking quite nice. So we've had this very long, not very long, sorry. We've had this big push up on the daily. Lots of momentum, looks really nice. And we've got a clear target there that we're looking for with this high here. And obviously we can't go a little bit higher to that high there. So what am I looking for here? So if I just drop down, you can kind of, this is essentially what I'm looking for on dollar CAD. So I can see that we've had this, we've got this low here, which is like the hook point essentially. So I'm looking for two separate things really. If we just continue to pull that, then it'll be a simple push continuation to move higher, and that would be lovely right into that move. But alternatively, if price just comes down, we get like a sort of near miss, comes back up, gives us that middle section, and then we get something like that, then 100% I will be looking for a risk entry on that down here, and we can easily get in. I mean, we're on the 1 hour, so maybe you could get in on the 15-minute, for maybe if you got quite tight, you could get about 20 pips up. And obviously to the edge of the structure here, roughly you get 3.5. To the top of the structure, you get almost 6, and then obviously to the first target point would be just over 6.5%. So that one is quite a nice one, but I do think it might need a couple more days to play out for this structure. But obviously, if we just tag this area and look, and then we get the push and flag, then obviously I'll look for the reduced risk entry or a potential risk entry within the flag on the 15-minute. Aussie Kiwi, yeah, not one for me at the moment. I was looking at this earlier today. I know that we've got this high end, very, very nice value area, but it just hasn't really responded to that value area, any sort of momentum really. We had the one candle, which was quite nice, but then obviously it's Aussie Kiwi, so it's just quite corrective in nature. And we had a huge wick, which obviously we can ignore, but you can kind of see that we've got this little correction here that just happens to be outside of this, which is actually quite nice. And then you can see that we've potentially, you can see that as a near miss, and then potentially we're looking for something along the lines of this with a push up, but it'd have to be a risk entry really, because your stop size just wouldn't be enough. Yeah, because that's a 10 pip stop. So you'd have to take the risk entry. You can manage it to the low, you can manage it to the trend line, but I just think it's the sequence of the position that is throwing me off, because it's not very often you get this sell off and then this large of a flag that pulls back higher, near misses this sort of area, and then correctively sells off into structure. I think that's just got risky all over it. So not a position for me that I'm willing to take. I've got the dollar CAD and I've got the €2, the $2 related pair, the $3 related pair, sorry, that are all looking more favourable in my opinion. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, obviously we've got this target down here, which is the first area, and we've got the lower low down there. What's nice about this is sitting below all of this volume, this structure. and we've sold off very aggressively on the daily, getting a slightly larger impulsive candle for the pullback on the lower time frame. But if I go to the 1 hour, you can kind of see that. I'm just going to remove this now because we know where price is. We can kind of see that we do have this very small liquidity point. Not the best because it is flat, but it does make sense. And you can also see that you've got this sort of 1, 2, 3 expanding that's coming up to it. You've got your middle section to the position there. Impulsive last leg, which is quite nice. Technically, was an entry that you could have taken there, but obviously moving into swaps, and it's kind of out of session a little bit because it's just a dollar related pair. Obviously not as much as pound dollar and euro dollar, but the position was there to take if you wanted to. But I would wait for this now just because obviously it's getting closer to swaps. I don't think I'm likely to be looking for a flag on the 5 minute after. Would be lovely if it showed up, if we got something like that. But I just feel like swaps is going to kind of show whether this is going to be selling off or not. So yeah, at the moment, I will just leave this as is and see if we kind of break that down, maybe come up and break this liquidity point, maybe even come up to tag this sort of area and then sell off. So yeah, Germany 30, we know where we are. We're at the super high, all-time highs pretty much. We have started a little bit of a sell-off now, correctively. There was a entry earlier in the week that I was looking at but chose not to take. So you had this kind of expanding structure and you could have taken it on that little high test there, and you'd probably be out around here for about 5.5%. And then later in the week, I was looking to see if we were going to get a position around here, but obviously we didn't. It's kind of just gotten a little bit messier now. Go back to the 1 hour, you could kind of say that you potentially look for something like this, but being at the 90% rule of this expanding structure, and obviously we're kind of coming into these lows over here as well. I'm just anticipating potentially larger pullback, larger structure. So this one I think just needs a bit more development to show its hand really. Euro yen. Earlier in the week, I was looking for price to come back up and to tag this high here. It was looking quite promising because we had this strong impulse, and I was looking for a continuation around here to play up to this high to fill this near miss. So just it made sense for me to do that at the time. But obviously we didn't get the entry and we got the push up, but now it just seems that it's kind of just floating about, creating a bit of messy price action. I'm not really going to be looking to trade this in any of these sort of areas. I will potentially look for the short when we tag into this area. Other than that, I'm not looking for much. If the market shows me a sign and we break above this high and form continuation, then I will look for the long because it just makes sense, knowing that we've broken this high. And if obviously with the continuation, it's just giving us a sign. So those are the two things that I'm looking for on euro yen, and it's pretty much the same as pound yen as well. I had that high in there, and obviously we had the double bottom come in here, and we had the impulsive move up, and then I was looking for that continuation on the lower time frames. You can actually see that we have got something here. It's kind of like you can see that it's a small near miss. So I'm not super interested in trading this. Yeah, I wouldn't be looking to long this. The structure just doesn't look that good to me with the two tops. Well, technically 3 tops and 2 bottoms. For a long position, it's not calling out to me. What I will be looking for, potentially you could see this as a larger expanding structure. So I'll be looking for price to kind of come up into this area, ideally break these highs and then give a strong maybe 4-hour pushback in followed by a 1-hour continuation. That's when I'll be looking for the short. But similar to euro yen, if we break and we form tight continuation on the 1 hour above these highs, you can technically play that into the higher high. Because it's pound yen, you probably able to get away with, say if let's say we form structure here and you manage to get in with a 25-ish pip stop, I mean, yeah, you've still got ample room up to 9% on that position. So very nice. And then silver was looking very good at the start of the week. We tapped into this high area, wicked well above with that daily candle. So we washed out the orders, but we do have the highs sitting just above. But yeah, I didn't really need much more for this really to look to put this on my watch list to look at. So I was looking for continuation if we were going to get it down here, but now it's pulled back and it's just getting a little bit messy now. So it's not a high focus for me. So my main ones are euro dollar for either continuation above, push back in or flag. Pound dollar to see if we get that third touch for the risk entry that lines up with that hook point. And then dollar CAD, either we get the push down here and we kind of fill this scoop into the bottom, push and flag, reduce risk entry or potential risk entry within a 15-minute flag. Or we get this expanding structure, this descending channel into this low for risk entry. And then out of pound yen and euro yen, I would favor pound yen a little bit more just because you can sort of see that it's got that expanding structure to it with the higher highs. Not so much lower lows because they're kind of equal. But if we got the break above, completion of this expanding, break above this high here, and then we got the pushback in, then yeah, 100% I will be looking for a position within there for the short because you'd be able to get in on this with about a 25 pip stop, and obviously to the first low you've got 6-1 to the bottom of the structure, you've got almost 13-1. So yeah, I like that position quite a lot. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you guys.